This isn't a labor fight. It's a poker game. And somebody's bluff is getting called. Hey, it's the Racer. And before we go any further, please hit the like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Especially if it hits, right? Especially if it hits. So, this conversation is not about outrage. It's about power, patience, and who can actually afford to wait. And trust me, someone in this negotiation is losing oxygen. Okay? So, the CBA expired and the masks come off. Now, Friday midnight, the current WNBA CBA officially expired. And for the first time, you had the WNBA players, coming out, and they stopped whispering, and they went public, and they threw out some flamethrowers, right? They accused the league of undervaluing player contributions, dismissing player concerns, and intentionally running out the clock. Their words, not mine. Despite demonstrating our willingness to compromise, the WNBA and its teams have failed to meet us at the table with the same spirit and seriousness. Instead, remaining committed to undervaluing player contributions and running out the clock. That's not negotiation language. That's pressure. They're feeling it. That's optics. And that's the union letting everybody know that the leverage window is closing. Now here's the quiet part nobody wants to say out loud. About 80% of the league cannot afford to strike. Everybody in the room knows it. Everybody. So, peaceful or owners calling their bluff. No strike, no lockout, no cancellation threats. Instead, we get a status quo. Sounds calm, sounds mature, sounds cooperative, but let's be honest. No strike doesn't mean strength. Sometimes it just means that you can't afford to smoke. Status quo favors who can wait the longest, right? And right now, that's not most players. Ownership has an offer on the table, and they're not rushing, and they're definitely not panicking. And they're betting that the union has to blink. And here's the uncomfortable truth. They might be right. Now, who really feels the pain? This is where the conversation gets real messy and it gets real. You can't negotiate like a billionaire when your members live like role players. Because not all WNBA players are negotiating from the same reality. Some players, they have 7-figure endorsement deals, overseas money, business ventures, media platforms, and ownership and leadership in other leagues and in other leagues. However, the majority of the league, they rely on those WNBA benefits, the salary, the team provided housing, the child care stipends, the maternity and family planning benefits. A lot of them depend on that, right? Miss a few checks, but principal doesn't pay mortgages. So when people frame this as a players versus owners, that's a little lazy. I'm just going to be honest about that. The real divide is simple, but a little harder. Who can afford to hold the line and who can't? Value versus timing. This is where things get a little dangerous, right? History doesn't care about intentions, only outcomes. Is the league undervaluing players? I see that argument, maybe. That argument does have some weight. I mean, the growth is real. The eyeballs are real. And the money is finally showing up. But here's the cold here's the cold reality of negotiations. Leverage isn't about what you deserve. And it's not about how loud you are. It's about who feels pain first. Owners can survive a delay. They billionaires are worth hundreds of millions. Most players in the WNBA, they can't afford to wait. They can't. Maybe a couple, but the vast majority, they need their WNBA check. They need their WNBA benefits. They need that. Right? So that doesn't make the league virtuous, but it does make the union vulnerable. It does. And ignoring that is how negotiations go sideways. Now let's address the quiet part. Some of the loudest and most influential voices pushing the hardest are also the most financially insulated, the least dependent on WNBA checks. And in some cases, they're building alternative ecosystems. That changes the risk tolerance, right? Not because anyone is evil, not because anyone is disloyal, but the math ain't mathing. Math doesn't care about solidarity slogans. So ask yourself, are these negotiations being driven by the needs of the entire union or by the patience of a few who can afford to wait it out? Negotiating for everyone doesn't hit the same when you don't bleed the same. And let me be clear. I want to be very clear about this. If this drags on too long, this will age badly. Not because players were wrong, not because owners are saints, but because momentum is fragile. Fans move on. Media pivots. And sponsors, they lose interest. Momentum is just borrowed energy. Once it's gone, it's hard to get that back. And if anybody should know this, basketball should understand that, because what? Basketball is a game of runs. So they should understand that. They should. So at some point, the union has to decide. Lock in major quality of life improvements now, because this will improve the quality of life. This deal that's on the table, the one right now, will improve the quality of life for every player in the league, not named Angel Reese, not named Breanna Stewart, not named Caitlin Clark, not named Fee Collier, not named Sabrina Ionescu. But everybody else, they'd be able to eat more. They wouldn't have to shop at Aldi's. They can go to Whole Foods now. And I don't have a problem with Aldi's. I got an Aldi's bag around here somewhere. I love Aldi's, to be honest with you, but I'm just saying. Or they could gamble the financial stability of the majority to chase maximum leverage later. Every player in the league can't afford for the few that are negotiating for them to do that. I know it's not an easy choice, but pretending that there's no downside to waiting is a fantasy. The clock is undefeated. And right now, it's not on the player's side. The owners, they got patience. The union, they got pressure. And the clock keeps ticking. Tick, tick, tick. Family, history won't ask who tweeted the hardest. It'll ask who understood the moment. This is a test of leadership, realism, and timing. I said what I said, family, and I stand on it. This is a racer. Be blessed.